Welcome to Viking Basketball with Tyler Geving, the first edition of the 2016-17 season as the Vikings are about to begin non-conference play. This weekend they go on the road playing at Arizona State. On Friday night you can watch that game on the Pac-12 network, and then Sunday afternoon they travel to Cal State Fullerton. So let's talk to Coach Geving, find out a little bit about the new team, the new year, and everything that is Viking basketball. Coach, we'll start with preseason practice. You guys have been at it now for 6-8 weeks since the players have come back. What have you learned about your team during that span?
Yeah, it seems like preseason's getting longer and longer. I think we started September 17th this year, so yeah, we've been at it for almost 2 months. But I think some things that have just kind of stood out for us, not necessarily just X's and O's, but team chemistry. I think it's a group that shares the ball extremely well with each other. I think it's a group that likes each other. I think that's you can't put a price tag on that. I think chemistry is a huge thing, especially in a sport like basketball where guys can get selfish at times. But right now I feel like we're doing a good job of that. We did that the other night in the exhibition game. We kind of picked up where we left off last year. I think it was 24 assists, 7 turnovers. So, if we can kind of continue to do that, we'll be in good shape. We're turning teams over again. We were, top 10 in the country last year in steals and came out, and I think we forced 24 turnovers the other night as well. So, so far, those are two things we kind of built on last year, and it's kind of carrying over so far.
Okay, you talk about team chemistry, and part of that comes from some guys who have some experience in the program, maybe some pretty good leadership. You start with a group that is now a lot of veterans. You have 8 returning players, a number of seniors, pretty good leadership to start, especially in the backcourt.
No, it is. I mean, Kalen and Zach played a lot of minutes last year. Obviously, Zach's in his 4th year, so he should be a lot more comfortable with what he's doing out there. And I think for Kalen, I think it was some growing pains a little bit last year. I mean, he didn't play a lot at Arizona State his first 2 years, and then to sit out a year, and then it just took him a while, but down the stretch he played extremely well for us. So I think that's going to kind of help us going into this year. It's going to help him. I think he's going to have a good senior year. And obviously Deshaun Parsons played a lot last year down the stretch and got him in the lineup doing some good things. Braxton Tucker obviously played well as a sophomore, and even though he sat out last year, he was here every day at practice. And then Bryce Kanda, he was a kid that we've started early on, but Bryce was here in the spring, so he got some of those chemistry issues, with the guys in the springtime and the summer playing with them. So yeah, it's a group that's kind of been around each other for a couple of years. So hopefully that'll translate into some early success for us.
Okay, now you mentioned that those 5 guys likely to be starting 5, or at the very least, all of them are going to play a lot of minutes for you. Deshaun Parsons, you mentioned. He's a guy, kind of a gadget guy. You move him around maybe a little bit to different positions, create some mismatches with him, and some of the things he can do. Yeah,
no, he can play. We play him at the wing, we play him at the 4, and I think he's a little bit more successful at the 4 just because he's so much more athletic than a lot of 4-men, and he can run up and down the court and use his athleticism. So I think that's kind of when he had his success last year, is when we kind of moved him to the 4. But yeah, I mean, he's a guy that knows the wing position, so we can play him there and have some more athletic lineups at times.
And Braxton Tucker, a guy who finished his sophomore season really strong, especially offensively, 2 seasons ago. Unfortunately, last year, unable to play with a knee injury. Good to see him back, scoring 30 points in an exhibition win over Linfield. That's got to have you feeling good, knowing that he's got that offensive game kind of in tune at the start of the season, and a guy who can go inside and now a little bit outside.
No, he can. He's, I think a lot of people know when we were 14-11 and we went 1-4 down the stretch that year when he blew his knee, and we had a good win at Eastern Washington. They ended up winning the league that year, so I thought we were right there. I thought when he got hurt that year, a couple of years ago, I thought that hurt us. We just didn't have a lot of depth inside, so. We probably could have used him last year, but he had to rehab the knee. But to have him back, yeah, you're right. I mean, it's a guy who can score inside and out, and a guy that obviously had 30 points the other night, so he knows how to put the ball in the hoop, and a guy that averaged 11 and 5 as a sophomore. So, there's going to probably be some growing pains early on for him too. Just hasn't played in a year, but I guess he didn't look like it the other night, coming out scoring 30 and 8. But we're excited to have him back, and it makes us a better basketball team.
And that's a good core group to start with. And in the offseason recruiting, you brought in 7 new guys. And I think, as I look at the roster, pretty good job supplementing the positions where you needed help and maybe address a few of those individuals and how they might contribute this year?
Yeah, I think Bryce, the kid that was here in the spring, obviously just being around the guys, I think he kind of gets a jump start on all the new guys just because he was here a little bit longer, so that was good for him. And, I think he's a guy that can play multiple guard positions and can help us out there. Traylon Ferris, Brandon Hollins weren't here in the summer, so, we're getting those guys along right now, but two good athletes, two good rebounders, and guys that can score inside. Deontay North has done a good job for us so far, so we're excited about, what he can bring to the table. Mayhew, reputation as a shooter. We needed to upgrade there a little bit. We were last in the league last year in three-point shooting, so I think we're going to shoot it a little bit better this upcoming season. And then two freshmen that we're bringing along slowly, but I think they got bright futures in Tyrell Henderson and Brendan Rummel.
Portland State playing 7 non-conference games on the road and challenging non-conference games. Open with a Pac-12 opponent, play 4 West Coast Conference opponents, also from the Big West, Western Athletic Conference. Coach, you play a lot on the road in the preseason against some tough teams. What do you address with your team in terms of them preparing for that level of competition and that many angry crowds they have to face?
Well, I think number one, I've always approached it as, obviously you want to win. I mean, everybody wants to win, and, I get that. But I think also at the same time it's about, hey, we got to get better come, I think this year it's December 29th when we play North Dakota. And I think it's, for us, we use the kind of the, preseason, I guess, to, evaluate our team, get our lineups together, get the chemistry together a little bit better. What are our strengths? What are our weaknesses? And really just kind of self-evaluate, during this preseason. So when league play comes around, we're clicking on all cylinders, and I think that's the goal. Obviously, we want to win. We want to be competitive in these games. I think it's a schedule that gets us ready for Big Sky. The Big Sky is hard to win on the road, and obviously our non-league schedule is going to be difficult too with the type of teams that we're playing. But I think all that's going to prepare us for league play.
Okay, last question, and this is a question that everybody keeps asking over and over and will continue to probably for the next 16 months, and that's about the development of the new Viking Pavilion. And most of the building that you've worked in for many, many years has been knocked down with the exception of the Stotts Center gym where the Vikings will play this year for the final season. Talk about the excitement about the development of Viking Pavilion and what it's going to mean for the program.
Well, I haven't been here quite as long as you have, Mike Lund, but going into my 12th year, I never thought I would see the day when, some walls were coming down here. So now that they've actually knocked down half the building, I think they have to rebuild it. So it's exciting. I think, hopefully we're going to announce some signings this week, and I think that getting this many guys early, I think, has a lot to do with our pavilion. It's something that we've sold quite a bit in recruiting, and now actually when you get people on campus, you can actually see that this is where the new facility is going to go. I think the weight room's been a big upgrade to us. I mean, it's fun to bring recruits in and take them into the weight room and see what they have there. I think the only knock is I got to sit in an office with my 3 assistants, but I think we're crawling up the walls a little bit. But we'll be all right. We know at the end of the day we're going to have a great brand new building and something that our fans should be excited about, our recruits should be excited about, and I think it's going to help elevate our program.
All right, short-term pain for long-term gain. That's what it's going to be here at the Viking Pavilion as it gets built. Once again, the Vikings opening their season this weekend at Arizona State Friday, Cal State Fullerton Sunday, and then the home opener on November 17th, Portland State hosts George Fox. Come out to the Stotts Center, the final season in the gym of the Stotts Center before that beautiful new Viking Pavilion goes up. Get all the information on Viking basketball at GoVikes.com.